Welcome to my class on memoir writing, Write Your Life. Yes, there's a little pun intended in that title, or I don't know if it's a pun so much as it's got a double meaning. I have found that writing my life stories has given me a great deal of agency over the way that those stories impact me. And it's not just as far as how looking at the past impacts a person, but it's how I move forward through life. And so I find memoir writing to be a very empowering process and fulfilling. And as Mary Karr says, changes in the novel have helped to jack up the memoir's audience. As fiction grew more fabulous or dystopic or hyper-intellectual, readers thirsty for reality began imbibing memoir. And I imagine perhaps this helps explain the huge rise in memoir, but it also gives us a glimpse into what we are to be doing as memoirists. We're to tell the truth. But as David Carr showed in his beautiful book, Night of the Gun, the truth is in the eye of the beholder. That book is about a night that involved David Carr being held at gunpoint, which when he went back after that story, reporter style, he discovered that not only was he never held at gunpoint, it was actually he who held the gun. And that's just one way to handle this so-called truth-telling. Another way is to fess up to blurry memories, or as I wrote in my book, Hello, American Lady Creature, What I Learned as a Woman in Qatar. It's a memoir about what it was like to go through a brutal divorce while living in the Persian Gulf. I wrote this book using journals, emails, and blog entries to recreate the world I inhabited in Qatar. To protect anonymity, some names and identifying details have been altered. But it all happened, and this is how it went down, according to me. Again, I'm not in any way suggesting that I purposefully misrepresented the facts, but I am well aware that we all remember things, the same things, very differently. It's your job as the memoirist to be true to your story. I should say, probably even before I get into this is how I go about things. I'm going to say things as if they are the truth, but again, I know that the truth is a subjective thing. Anytime we look at the story of our life, there are many different tales that can be teased out about it, and a good writer can write several stories over one event. And that's how, as a memoirist, you can keep creating stories. And so what we're going to do in this class in general is to focus on the story of the book that you're writing. It's not everything that ever happened. It is a particular take on a time or events in your life. And to that end, I have structured lesson plans to help really get the nugget of the memoir down. So whether you're a new writer just starting your book, or you have been working on a book and you may feel stuck in some place, or you're revising it for publication, I think that there's going to be something in here for everyone, because I take writing classes and work with a writing group all the time because I find it useful. I'm not writing to fulfill my own narcissistic fantasies about reliving my past. I'm really trying to make sense of the world in the same way that reading does for me. So, from my perspective, if you want to write in a genre, you should read in that genre. You want to be familiar with that genre. I find it very helpful. And if I don't enjoy reading it, why on earth would I enjoy writing it? So in order to give everyone a fair amount of time, each week there's going to be a short post assignment for everyone to contribute to, and a long post assignment. The short post assignment is going to be 300 to 500 words, and it is going to be just that, some kind of short post in response to a prompt. The longer post is where you will submit manuscript copy from your book, or if you haven't started your book and you're trying to start your book, I'm going to make a suggestion for an essay, and then that might introduce chapters later. And we'll rotate that depending on the number of students that we have in the class, but the idea is 3 students each week can write a long post. If you don't choose to also write a short post, That's fine during the week that you're doing that. But every week, everyone gets a chance to participate. Then I'm also going to offer optional assignments. I strongly suggest taking advantage of some of these optional assignments. I don't really see them as optional, but I just didn't want this class to feel completely overwhelming, because sometimes life gets busy and you're always going to have access to this information to come back to it. And the benefit of being part of this class is that you will have the ability to get feedback from students, just like in a regular workshop. You'll also see that I have downloaded a list of guidelines, or downloadable for you, created a list of guidelines based on Liz Lerman's method of critical response. And this method really involves helping the artist, as she calls them, the writer in this case, to fully express their ideas. It's less about gathering a bunch of opinions than it is about trying to move ideas forward. If a writer asks for more feedback, then that's between you and the person giving the critique. But in terms of the way to respond, initially, the most successful and supportive atmosphere that I've experienced has been through using this method. So all students are expected to follow these guidelines. Understand that many times we deal with sensitive material in these classes. Of course, and this is part of the critique method, I expect all participants to be fully aware of this fact and sensitive to it when they're responding to other students, particularly other students' sensitive material. And one of my favorite quotes from Nadia Bolz-Weber, that we write from our scars and not our wounds. And that is a truly powerful thing to remember. It is incredibly important to understand that your book is an item that is up for sale in a marketplace. That marketplace is a bookstore or maybe even a library. But people will not want to even check out your book if they've never heard of it, or if it doesn't make any sense to them. It might not even become a book if you can't describe your book concisely and understand where it fits in this marketplace of ideas. So the first task that I have for you is to read, research, and you can do this on Amazon. They have you can just do a search on your favorite memoir, and it will show other favorite memoirs in case you haven't read 6 memoirs. If you hadn't, I'm really looking forward to getting you to read a few more over the course of this class. And you're going to find ones that are similar to yours. Of course, they're not going to be the same. Your story is unique. But if you travel in your book, you could certainly consider using something like Eat, Pray, Love. You might dig into the Wayback Machine and go for an Under the Tuscan Sun, but I would highly recommend looking at comparable current titles, because this is something that will be useful when it comes time to create a book proposal. Generally, you sell the book on a proposal, and the agent is going to sell your book to an editor on a proposal. It's very rare that an editor is going to want to see a full book from someone right out of the gate. They're going to ask for chapters. And those chapters come essentially with some front material that talks about this book in the marketplace, as well as your credentials as an author, and whatever platform you might have. Platform. That's a whole other thing, but since this lesson is called Market, let me just talk about it. It doesn't have anything so much to do with the craft or the technique of memoir writing, but it is something that you want to be familiar with. A platform is a jumping off place. Essentially, think of it as, how easy are you to find by readers? Do you already have some sort of fan base? If you teach yoga, are you teaching workshops to hundreds of people in a month? If you are somebody who speaks about blood sugar to diabetics, maybe you're writing a memoir about your experience in overcoming or living with diabetes. All of these things, and that I'm not even talking about the prescriptive medical type memoir. I'm really talking about the life story memoir. you still need a platform for that, some way to be findable. If you have a reality television show, you're golden. But for the rest of us who probably don't have hundreds and thousands of people, begin to think, how can you begin to cultivate an email list of people that you would notify about your book? There's going to be a discussion below. Any questions you have, I'll either come back and answer in a video, or I will respond to by typing. Thank you. Bye.